All right, we are live. Senior Living Ask Day number 3. So, as we get started, we're just gonna give everybody a minute to come filtering in and find a seat and get settled. While you're doing that, we have a couple little housekeeping things. So as we as our presenter talks today, if you have any technical problems, we have a chat right there, on the bottom. It's regular Zoom. There's a chat button. If you have any problems, just chat it in there and Jillian can help you. Similarly, if you have questions for each of our presenters, if there's also that Q&A box down there. So feel free to put your questions in there and then Steve and I can pose them to the presenter at the end. And in the meantime, while everybody's coming in, for fun in the chat, it's usually fun to see where everybody's, where everybody's watching from. So if you want to put your city and state down, excuse me, down there in the chat, that's fun. And, also the first car you ever drove. So for me, that's going to be, right now, it's the Ozarks, Missouri, and a Ford Taurus. So anyway, was my car.
So I am, my chat is not working.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
It says, somebody posted in the questions that it says chat is disabled. So it looks like I can see hosts and I can only chat to hosts and panelists. So Jillian might take a look at that.
Yeah, let's see if we can do that.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So I might just add, and Dave, you don't know this, but Zoom's got a fairly new sort of a conference app that's a little different than their webinar, which is what we're using today. And this is a good trial run for us because we've just moved our Zoom account over to that as well.
Okay. Let me see. Let me test it.
Oh, there we go. It says it's working. Lake of the Ozarks.
That's me.
But Leanne's in there too. So
there we go. Chicago. All right. St. Louis. Very cool. All right. So as everybody kind of comes in and gets settled. Amory, Mississippi. All right. New Jersey. All right. East Coast. I'm an East Coaster myself. I just happen to be in the Midwest right now. So yeah, snowy Missouri. So I don't want to, take up too much time. I just kind of want to kick this off with a little bit of an intro. So as you get settled, I just want to say welcome everyone to our 3rd annual Senior Living Ask Day. And what ASK stands for is Aging Services Knowledge. So we started this during COVID when everything got shut down and there was literally nothing else to do. And we wanted to keep that connection going with our senior living colleagues. So the idea behind this conference, it's really meant to be a very focused niche of a niche in senior living. It's meant to move the industry forward by connecting those very specific answers to the specific challenges that our marketers, our sales, and our operational colleagues face. So no, this conference is not for everyone, but that is kind of the point, right? So I've been in this industry for 3 years. I've been fortunate enough to meet many kind and smart people. And every presenter today, all 16 of them, all right, they are brilliant experts in their field. They are the owners and they are the leaders of their companies. They've worked tirelessly to build solutions for an industry that they are committed to serving. And what I'm grateful for is that at Dreamscape, and what Dreamscape and I are good at is helping bridge that gap between community and solution providers. So in my first year of this industry, I was fortunate enough to meet a great thought leader, a connector, and an advocate. He was instrumental in getting this event off the ground in year 1 and introducing me to a lot of people that you're going to meet today and tomorrow. So a man who needs no introduction to anybody else, my friend and yours from the West Coast, Steve Moran.
Thank you, Dave. I'm so excited to be here today. Just got back from Arizona, had a bunch of great meetings. I want to start by saying that when I went to the NIC conference this last fall, there was kind of all roses and flowers and puppy dogs from the stage, and then I'd go into the reception areas and the networking areas, and I start talking to operators, and it was like, oh man, we're still getting our butt kicked. I have found in the last 5 or 6 weeks, as I've been talking to operators, that there is a new sense of optimism. It's not that occupancy is perfect, it's still far from that, but they're seeing growth there. It's not that staffing is perfect, it's not, people are still struggling. They're just not struggling as much. And so I think that this year is going to be for senior living. I'm not sure for the rest of the economy, frankly, but for senior living, I think this is going to be a much, much better year. And we've gone through 3 terrible years, right? And so we sort of deserve a good year. So I want to do a couple things before I turn the platform over to Brad. The first is this: we want to run a couple contests, or we want to run a contest each day. So here's the deal. We are going to count the number of chat comments that you initiate. The person who initiates the most number of chats each day will win a $100 gift certificate from Amazon. And so now look, I've never had a problem doing this, but I still got to say it. If you just go like A, B, C, E, D, those don't count. We've never had a problem with that, but we just found that when we've done this in the past, it's just somehow helped encourage people, because we love to see the dialogue. We see oftentimes as Brad will be talking and other people talking, you'll be inspired, you'll want to say something, and just share your thoughts out. It'll be really, really terrific. The other thing that we're doing is we have a new speaker evaluation tool from a company called Talkadot. This is a beta, so it may be a little bit tough, but I want to show it to you right now. The easiest way to do this, you can do this either on your laptop or on a mobile device. So you can scan this barcode, or you can just go to talk.ac/senior living. You'll see a drop-down menu there for each of the speakers. I would love to have you just tell us for each speaker we're doing. That's right. Get that phone out, just like Dave is doing. Scan that sucker. There'll be a drop-down menu there where you can rate each speaker. And I don't know, maybe I think this is all anonymous, so I don't know how to give a prize on that, but it'll just help us get better. It'll help the speakers get better. I used it at 2 keynotes in December this last year. It was a huge, huge win for me. And so it's the nice thing to do. We'll put this up a bunch of times and remind you at the end of each session. So with that, I'm gonna be quiet. And I told Dave I'd talk for 5 minutes, for 2 minutes, and I've taken 5, right? That's a big challenge. I'm really delighted about our first speaker today, Brad Williams with Argentum. And I've asked him to talk a little bit about who he is before he goes into his presentation. And that's sort of my personal preference, because I feel like I tend to do a better job of introducing myself than when somebody just read something I already wrote anyway. So with that, Brad, we're going to turn it over to you. Real excited to hear your good news.
All right, no problem. Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Dave, thank you. I want to thank Dreamscape really for taking the effort. These events aren't easy to put together, and they're advancing education and solutions, thoughts within the industry, and ideas and challenges. And once again, the sharing that you're going to experience over the next 2 days is really what's going to help drive our industry forward. So I really appreciate everything that they're doing with regard to this event. As for me, I am sort of a career association management professional, if we want to call it that. I've worked in 3 different careers in my life. I've been in the senior living space with Argentum for about 7 years now. Seen a lot of growth and change, and just it's almost mind-boggling. And I believe that change is going to sort of happen quicker. So that's a little bit of what we're here to talk about today, is sort of an industry vision that we've sort of worked on the past 8 to 10 months with the industry itself and our leadership at Argentum. The one thing that I hope you'll draw from this today, it's going to be a little bit more high level, sort of that 50,000 foot space, but I think these are all concepts and ideas that you think about within your work and your day-to-day work and within your companies and communities. So I really hope it's helpful. Excited to share it, because I think there's some exciting things going on here in senior living. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. This is where I hope I can see someone who says, yes, Brad, you did that successfully. If not, let me know. Whew. It's good to be moving forward. That's our sort of title today, and I think it's already been expressed today as well. So let me get control of my screen. There we go. All right, kicking it off. It's been a challenging few years. sort of a reminder here, it's not just been the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we had an occupancy dip from fourth quarter of 2017 moving into the third quarter of 2019. We had an uptick at that point, and then guess who arrived on our doorstep? COVID. We had the pandemic to deal with. All of a sudden, our attention, everything turned to infection prevention and control. Occupancy started to drop, labor shortages, challenges. I don't need to spend too much time here, but we've seen some more recent trends, and that's a little bit of what Steve was just alluding to. Quarterly occupancy, we've seen gains there. Problem, it's been coupled with inflationary pressures, which is squeezing a lot of operators' margins. The one thing now that I've heard from an operational and sort of a marketing sales sort of perspective is getting sort of back to basics. Look, the pandemic did change how we do business and how we think about marketing, sales, operations. But I've also heard a lot of, I got to get back to basics, got to get back to doing what we do well. And I think that rings true here lately. So what's the good news? The senior population is larger, it's living longer, and it needs care. So our aging population really needs our solutions. We see 10,000 people turning 70 each day. That's higher than ever before in the history of our country. By 2034, our population will shift where for the first time, we will have more adults than children. And by 2036, it's estimated the population of seniors over the age of 85 will double from where it is today. So going from 6.6 to about, over 12 million. Now, the near term, we all see our eldest boomers are now entering assisted living and memory care. And there's an increasing need for us providers, to deliver the care that's needed. Challenges affecting this opportunity. The reality is, as this base of aging adults needs care, we need more workers. And once again, we've already referenced the demographics. We're going to have a large senior population, an aging population, whereas that workforce is not necessarily as large as it. So we've really got to get smart about how we do business and how we provide care. And that's not just us as an industry. That's our friends that regulate our industry and the lawmakers. So, but over the next decade, we need 1.3 million new workers. That's new. So I'll emphasize that. Market segmentation is increasing. I think with the boomers, you're going to see higher expectations. They kind of want what they want when they want it. You probably know that better than I already. Another item is access to capital. Right now, we have a challenging current economic environment. So access to capital may not be quite what it was in the past. Once again, we expect that to change because as the industry grows and as the business prospects grow, capital will return. But right now, it's a bit of a challenge. And then with growth comes expected changes in the regulatory environment. Lawmakers are going to start focusing on the industry. The reality is, as we grow and more people need assistance, we believe senior living is the best, most efficient way to provide care. And we think we become more important, number one, to society, to the industry, and thus means we're going to be more important to our lawmakers. So for Argentum, who is very heavily focused on advocacy and policy and shaping favorable environments in the industry, a lot of our attention is already turned there and will continue to grow and be focused in that area. So with that said, setting the table sort of where we are, I think, is an industry vision that, once again, we went out, Argentum, and spent about 8 to 10 months working with our board of directors, working with our committees, our large group of volunteer membership, as well as the broader industry, the supplier side, as well as any stakeholders really involved, and sort of arrived at an industry vision, and that's what we're going to share today. But the top line is senior living recognized as the most effective, efficient, and compassionate care delivery system to meet the needs of America's seniors. Once again, we know there's going to be more care that has to be given to aging population and to seniors. We believe we are the best possible solution to keep people out of the hospital, out of skilled nursing, to keep them healthy, keep them well fed, and keep them socialized. So a lot in there. Now, to honor that, we believe there's 3 values we really need to serve. And I share these with you as well, and hope you share them with us and believe in these. But above all else, we're a people industry. We care for residents and we help them thrive. We have to continue to care for our team members and their futures as well. We need to make sure we're focused on the whole persons, and that's both our residents and our team members, and that's socialization, that's meaning, and that's wellness, focusing in those areas. And then we need to create diverse, equitable, and inclusive environments. It's been proven, the data shows that when you're diverse, equal, and inclusive, your company thrives, your business is more productive, and the outlooks are always better. Trust. We must nurture trust, and that means residents have to trust us to give the best care and the best life experience available. Our families have to trust that we will be transparent, we'll communicate with them. Our team members must trust that we're providing the resources and training necessary for the job. And our investors must trust that we are getting the best quality care we can while providing them a return on investment. And then finally, it's regulators. Once again, they're going to be more involved, and they have to trust that we are adhering and verifying compliance with our state regulations. And that third value is choice. Our goal is to make sure seniors, aging population has choices. Residents should be able to choose where and how they live. We at Argentum need to make sure we're shaping regulation along with the states to support that choice and offer those options. And then once again, all of this is protecting that fundamental right of choice for our seniors. We do not want seniors 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now feeling they only have one option, that this is where they will end up. That is not where we're heading. We're heading towards a future where people have options, working with regulators, working with stakeholders, working with you to make sure they have an option of living here, where and how they want to live. So with those sort of values established, there's really four strategic imperatives that Argentum wants to share with the industry. And these are the areas that will drive the work Argentum does. And it really helps us focus in areas where we can make the most impact at the most important times. So this is a 10-year vision. At Argentum, we've got 3-year plans. You know, we can't map it out quite 10 years, but these are the things that are going to drive those 10 years of work that we plan to do with you in the industry. Developing our people, measuring what matters, telling our story, and increasing access. And I'm going to walk through these, each of these real quick. Develop our people. Every conversation I have typically here at Argentum with a member or with an operator in the industry, it revolves around staffing. It always comes up. It's important. It's critical. Argentum is really moving towards building programs that impact the industry. We don't want to talk about it. We want to do. And some of the programs we've already got underway are sort of an example of where we're heading. Right now, we have an apprenticeship. Within that apprenticeship, we're developing career pathways. We really need people who start to become aware and understand the career opportunities in our industry to be able to look up and say, hey, if I start here at dining, where can I end up? If I start here as a sales counselor, could I end up the VP of sales and marketing? So we really want to establish those career pathways and how you achieve them and how you get there. So part of that is, you know, beyond the career pathway, how do you get there? We have our apprenticeship program. We are getting ready to close out our 3rd year. We've had over 4,000 apprentices go through that, and we already see that we're getting 80% retention among those apprentices. I think any operator out there would truly appreciate those type of retention numbers. So that's an example of some of the programs. We're building more trainings for the industry, not so much trainings for your organization, but trainings that will take someone off the street and familiarize them with the industry and also qualify them for you as an employer so that they can walk into a job center in the US, seek senior living as a career opportunity, and then see the steps necessary. But that first step is, hey, take an introduction to senior living to show that you want to take that 4 or 5 hour certificate course, and we'll move you into introduce you to those employers in the local area to start your career. So these are real programs we're launching. That Job Corps Center program that I just mentioned, we're going to be launching in 3 Job Corps centers across the country as a beta over the next 2 to 3 months. Around summertime, we're going to start to launch into more. We hope to be in about 30% of the job centers in the US within the next year. So those are some real programs. We're really trying to drive people into the industry, and then the training and sort of that apprenticeship model to move them through it. So a lot of this work is starting to happen, and we really want to keep it moving forward. Beyond that, there's some other ideas we have. And number one, we have a program called Work Well that's part of that apprenticeship model right now, but it'll be expanded into areas where we can. But also we recognize, for example, single mothers are often frontline entry-level workers. We want to make sure they have the support they need. If they need help with their child care the first few months to get running in that new position, we want to supply it. If they need help with transportation, if they've got their cars in the shop and they need some help there, we want to be able to supply that through some of the programs we're developing. Also, we need to advocate for policy solutions. The reality is, look, we're going to be a big part of the solution to senior care moving forward. Policymakers need to fully understand the impact in what we do. And through that, they need to support us. They need to provide us resources, favorable legislation, favorable regulation, so that we can do the business that we need to help seniors. And then finally, foreign-born workers. Right now, about 10% of the workforce is born outside the U.S. We want to increase those numbers, and there's ways to do that. We're working with a lot of policymakers around that. Things like, the existing visa programs being better regulated so that people can quickly move into jobs where it's obvious they belong in those positions. So there's a lot going on there. We want to do more work exchange programs. We want to think about partnerships that drive people into the industry. I could talk about this one all day, so I'm gonna move to the next one, and any questions we can sort of circle back. Measure what matters. This one I'll briefly sort of set up as, we all know the great work that operators are doing, the great work that you do day in, day out. We know the favorable outcomes. We tell those stories, but we really have to have data behind it. Your marketing, your sales professionals, most of you on the call, you understand how important those metrics are. I'm a sales and marketing professional by nature. That's just where I grew up as well. So I certainly always want data. As a matter of fact, I have a saying, trust in God and all others bring data. I really believe that. I trust in God, but I need data in a lot of other cases. So we as an industry have to do a little bit better. We need to aggregate that data to be able to tell stakeholders, insurance companies, regulators, everyone else that, hey, we do great work. And by the way, we reduce hospitalizations. We reduce entrances into skilled nursing. Our residents are 70% report feeling 70% better upon their first few months of living in senior living. There's a lot of data out there that we've got to really aggregate across the industry to tell our story and to back our story. And by doing that, I think we can move the needle in a lot of areas. And then, of course, there's the impact that'll have. If we can demonstrate how much money we're saving, quite frankly, along that long-term care spectrum by the good work we do, that betters our position as an industry and allows us to really create a much more favorable environment to operate in. And then brand protection is always at the end of that. Look, we as an industry do great work. Sometimes there's a bad incident somewhere, but we as an industry, if we have that aggregated data, we're able to say, hey, look, as an industry, we're doing really great work. And we've got to be able to point to that. Sorry. And our next imperative, increasing access. This one is really focused around a long-term sort of continuum. Increasing access to us really means a few things. Affordability is an obvious one, but we also want to start that relationship with seniors prior to them moving into the communities. And we need to think about, as an industry, how do we do that? And how do we use technology to do that? How do we connect with people sooner so they understand what we offer, so they understand the options, so they understand how their years can be spent, once they move out of that home they've been in for years. So doing that is going to help us all along the lines. There's a lot of ideas in here. It's about new models for care, and where is the home and home care, as well as telehealth options and a lot of other things. So there's a lot of work that's going to be done here. And then increasing access comes down, once again, policies behind everything. What type of policy can we sort of shape with regulators and lawmakers to make sure people have options to access senior living? And then last one, tell our story. I thought for this one, I hope I get this right. I'm going to play a video. This is James Balda, our CEO. I thought you should hear from James Balda as to tell our story. And I think this one obviously is a little more related to what you do every day. You're storytellers at the end of the day. We all are. And when we're in marketing and sales, that's what we do. So let me do my best to get this queued up. Dave, if let me see if I can.
Let's see. Did it
I
open?
might have to share. Let me hit pause. Let me stop sharing and then share my other screen, because I'm guessing you can't see my video right now, Dave?
No, yeah.
Yeah, if you stop the share and share, the
Okay.
one other thing I would add is when you hit the share button, there are two little check boxes down in the bottom. Be sure and hit those. Otherwise, nobody will be able to hear it.
Okay, so there's going to be a. No, I can't see my screen. I apologize, everyone. Oh, here we go. And you said there's going to be some.
When you hit the share button, there's if you go back down to where it says share screen,
Mhm.
down at the very bottom, you'll see two check boxes. You just need to put a check mark in both of those. Otherwise, we won't hear it.
Oh, okay. I see something checked. It's really hard to see those little buttons, by the way. Okay, I'm going to hit it. Let's hope we get some volume here. Can you hear it? No? Okay.
So see where it says share screen down at the bottom there?
Mhm.
We sort of do.
And then if you look at it, you'll get a list of screens, and down below that, you'll see two check boxes.
I feel like I'm in the right place, but I guess I'm not doing it. Okay, I've got you. Okay. Thank you so much. I apologize, everyone. Okay, let's try this again.
The senior living industry has a compelling story to tell, and we need to tell it. No one else can. When others try to define who we are and what we do, they inevitably get it wrong. During COVID, one lawmaker remarked that senior living is where people go when they don't want to cut their grass. We know that's not who we are, and not who our residents are either. We need to advocate and increase our impact as the voice of the senior living industry. We need to learn how to better tell our story to potential residents, families, policymakers, and the media. We need to drive the perception the public has of our industry, not be driven by it. Nowhere is that more important than when it comes to policymakers. While there is no wholesale regulation of assisted living, as we thought there could be following the pandemic, we do anticipate purposeful attempts to regulate elements of our business that at the least would result in unintended consequences that could lead to the institutionalization of senior living and ultimately eliminate choice for our residents. We can't allow that to happen. We need to get out in front of it with a stronger story of who we are, what we do, the impact we have, and the emerging challenges coming our way. People need to understand the realities of senior living in America, both how these realities are growing and how needs are changing as we transition from the greatest generation to the baby boomer generation. We need to educate policymakers on the value of senior living and advance our policy goals around our workforce needs, access to care, and affordability for all. We are not just bingo or golf course communities. We offer so much more than these simple musings. We need to enhance understanding and perception of our industry before the long-term care policy crisis arrives. As it is, long-term care is set to become the next child care issue for our country. That means it's urgent for us to share the value of senior living. 75+% of senior living residents report an improved quality of life after moving into our communities. 70% enjoyed an improved health outlook. These are not small statistics. Proper senior care, utilizing senior living and assisted living to include memory care, can save Medicare upwards of $43 billion a year over placing seniors in nursing care, and it affords a better quality of life for the senior. But facts alone won't change perception. We need to tell a better story to do that. We need to engage with all of our audiences through narratives that show the value of our industry and the facts about our strengths and challenges. Argentum plans to do this by providing members with research, tools, and messaging to attract residents and workers, and by sharing a stronger story with policymakers so they understand the impact of their work on our industry, all while convincing them to advocate policies that will strengthen our future. And not only will we shift their perceptions, we will measure it and move the needle. But in order to do that, we need your help. both financially and through member participation. The more members we have, the stronger our collective voice.
I'll go ahead and stop it there. Okay. Good. I hope you appreciate that. Sorry for the technical challenges I have, but I thought it important that everyone hear from James Bald, our CEO, and who's sort of leading and driving the work that we do on a daily basis and long term. So, and I think telling our story is such a critical part of everything we do and how we need to do it moving forward. We're behind you. We want to support you. It's what Argentum it represents. So I'm here to answer any questions, not just today, but beyond today. Hopefully you have my information. I can get it to anyone who does need it, but really appreciate the opportunity. And are there questions, Steve, Dave? I'm happy to, I could talk about this stuff all day. So that getting it into that 25-minute window was, hopefully I didn't breeze to it too quickly.
No, that was great. And as the sales and marketing guy too, and that's my background, is I love that. I love, Steve and I are all on the same page, is always telling the story and tell the story. But what I keyed in on there from that was the connecting to the data. And that's something I've learned since I've been at Dreamscape. I was I was the mainstream marketer, previously in my career, and going digital. It's like, we see that in all of our healthcare verticals, is that being able to connect that data to just approve to everybody, to advocate at all sorts of different levels is so critical. So yes, it's tell that brand story, but also collect that data so you can prove the brand story. So I'm on board. That's great.
So I actually have a couple, both a comment and a question. Let me start with the question first, and then I'm going to come back on I am like Dave. I'm just crazy passionate about this story thing, and I think it's an area that we are so weak in. But the question I have that I want to come back to earlier, you talked about this apprentice program and what, an 80% retention rate.
Yeah.
So I got to know, what are they doing to get that kind of retention rate? I mean, that is so crazy good.
What are they doing? I think it's just really when you do invest in your workforce. And look, it's harder to do than to say. Obviously, we all want to invest in our workforce, and we all have limited resources, and you've got budgets and all that. But I think what we're trying to say is, look, when you do invest in them and say, I'm here to support your career and how you do it, it matters. So those are big numbers. We will complete that apprenticeship. It was a 4-year grant that we received from the Department of Labor. We've got about 14 months left in it. At the end of it, we're going to put a nice stamp on everything. We hope to continue a lot of the work that's been done related to that apprenticeship. And we hope that they'll extend the grant. We would like to, we're going to go back and say, can we have more money to do more of the apprenticeships? And we hope that can become, some of these grants get extended year over year for multiple years. So that's our goal. But we've got some other grants we're working on to do similar programs like this. So I got a little off topic, Steve, but yeah, I think that's it. You're investing in your workforce, and they feel it.
No, that is really good. So one thing I want to, this sort of starting into November through December and all this year, I'm putting a really big push on spending more quality time talking to residents and resident families. And I was having dinner with some residents a few weeks ago where, frankly, they had some big complaints about their community. But you know what? They loved it in spite of that. They wanted to get better. But one of the things that drives them crazy, because it hasn't been fixed, is that they all had wonderful things to say about it. And you know what? Their operators, the salespeople, the leadership in this particular organization, have none of them come and said, would you do a testimonial for us? Would you talk about how great it is? And I'm going to be writing about this. I haven't written it up yet, but there is so much opportunity. I beg those of you who are operators or who are touching operators to get out there and talk to those residents and collect those stories. Because in my news feed this morning when I got up, there was a story about, I won't go into details of what it was, but that just made senior living look bad. And honestly, the operator in this particular case was negligent. And so it wasn't, but there's nothing, but for every negligent thing that happens, and stuff happens because we're human, there are 1,000 or 10,000 positive things and we never tell those stories.
No, I agree. We have a sort of a driving sort of force at Argentum where we talk about, we relate it to the food industry. And if someone eats a bad burrito at a Mexican joint out in California, people in Virginia quit eating at that burrito joint, and that's a little bit what happens. You hear about a bad experience in assisted living or a memory care or whatever the case in Arizona, and people in Michigan quit, looking for assisted living, So we as an industry really just have to have, once again, the stories and that data to say, look, that's an isolated event. We really are good at what we do. And I think people understand that. I think we just need that data to back it.
Yeah, and Mary Ann said there in the comments, she said she's curious about your plan to change the narrative of senior living to consumers. So
very good. What we will do, so Argentum in its current form, we're not an extremely large organization. Our focus right now is really working with the operators. So what we'll try to do is provide our membership, the industry operators, content, toolkits, the things necessary that allows them to go out and be the message. I'll give you an example. It's a little bit on, because of COVID, we weren't able to get out into businesses and high schools and other areas, but we have an ambassador program that at some point we will reboot. And that ambassadorship program was something where we really tried to provide the tools to everyone in senior living and say, hey, go out into your community, host 1, 2, or 3 presentations at different places and talk about a career in senior living. But that's an example of how we kind of view it right now at our capacity as an organization. So we really want to work with the operators and how we do that. We don't, you always hear this, and I'll just say that we don't have quite the resources for the Got Milk campaign, as everyone calls it. For some people, that's an older campaign. Some people are a lot younger than me, don't even know what that Got Milk thing is. But we can't do a Super Bowl ads and things like that, sort of from that consumer perspective. But we want to work with our operators to multiply the stories, and how do we do it as an industry.
yeah, and that's the great thing about new media is those things are being done so organically now that we're all storytellers. And even JC just said we have found it challenging to convince our teams to gather and share those stories. And maybe that's where you have someone internally who is that marketing person, who is that storyteller innately, and they can kind of be the cheerleader for that type of thing. But yeah, it is hard. It is hard to get people going at first, but I've seen some amazing things, even on TikTok, with people just one lady's out there dancing with her residents every day. It's just fun stuff just to get it going, to show that boots on the ground, as you say, lifestyle. I see it happening all the time. So maybe, it just takes that one person to kick it off and get it going. But
look, if this industry has anything, it's passion. And I tell you what, we've got a lot of passionate people, and it's, I think what we all love about the industry. So that passion is going to shine through. We'll get there. It's going to happen.
For sure. So I think we're a couple minutes over, so we need to wrap up and get ready for Loa. But Brad, thank you so much. That was a great way to kick this 2 days off. Anything, Steve, you want to say to wrap it up as we?
Yep, I do. I just want to remind everybody, this is your time to get out your app. It's better to do it on an app. Scan this thing, talk.ac /senior living. Even I can do that without messing it up, probably, or at least maybe on a second try. There'll be a drop down menu, and just leave some feedback as to how Brad did, how amazing his talk was, and how he needs to go back to tech school. No, I don't think that's an option there. So that's LinkedIn thing. And so we do live streams every week, and it is really, really tough. So Brad, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
I love the initiatives, because this is really about telling the story. There are enough people right now today, enough older people right now today with the financial resources to pay for senior living, that if we get the storytelling right, we get the service package right, every single building should be full. I believe it. The numbers prove that out. And so to some degree, it's our fault, our responsibility that we're not there yet. What Argentum is doing makes it easier for operators to make that happen. So do the survey. And Dave?
Yep. So coming up next now in about
Thank
five
everyone.
and a half minutes, we have Lola Rain, the head of marketing for Sequoia Senior Living, and her title is intriguing to me because it's when marketing goes awry, who's to blame? So I'm particularly interested in hearing that. So go out of here. We're going to close this out in a second, go back to the lobby, get ready to join Lola, and we'll see you all in a minute. All right. Thank you, Brad. See you, Steve. We're going to end this one. So join Lola's and be about 5 minutes. All right. See you, everybody.